In today's video, we're going over some exercise ideas for golfer's elbow. Stay. My name is Dan Pope. I'm a cash-based physical therapist. I am a strength coach. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a meathead. I love all things fitness. On this channel, we go over how to make you a better coach and clinician. So golfer's elbow is actually pretty common in the gym. All the gripping exercises that folks are doing. Pull-ups is a big one, rope climbs is another one. Sometimes people are doing lots and lots of arm work. They end up with some pain right here. One of the troubles is that there's not a ton of research on how to effectively treat golfer's elbow in comparison to something like tennis elbow. However, I've got a bunch of great exercise ideas to share with you today, and we're gonna go over all of these. First step is you have to unload activities in the gym that are causing too much pain. What is too much pain? I would say below, at a 5 out of 10 pain-wise, is probably acceptable as long as the next day you're feeling pretty good and back to your baseline, right? So the exercises that tend to bother golfer's elbow are exercises where you have to use your grip intensely. So think about deadlifts, pull-ups, dumbbell rows, those types of things. One way we continue doing those exercises and not aggravating the elbow is by lessening the grip requirement by using a strap, right? So these are weightlifting straps. I'm sure you guys have used them before. What I'm gonna do, take the strap, put it around my dumbbell. You can use barbells, you can use anything you need to hold on to in the gym with this. Cinch it up, just like that. Good. Now the grip component of all your exercises are a lot easier. Things like rows, things like deadlifts, things like pull-ups, pull-downs, all that stuff can be still accomplished, which is helpful for rehabilitating, but also is going to help to make sure you don't aggravate this thing. General rule of thumb is that exercise is helpful for golfer's elbow. We want to start with exercises that are a little bit easier. So things like isometrics, lighter loads, slower speeds are going to be good to start with. And over the course of time, we progress to heavier loads, more isotonics, more eccentrics, and increase the speed. First, we're going to go over some isometric exercises for golfer's elbow. The first of which I like to use is utilizing a false grip. Now we can do these while we're performing a row. We can also perform these while we're hanging from a bar, so we'll go over both variations. What's kind of nice is that they also help to train the rest of the connect chain. So working the shoulder, the biceps, and we're also working all the muscles attached to the medial epicondyle. So the first thing we're gonna have you do here, Courtney, is to get a false grip onto the rings. So essentially, we're not gripping here, we're gripping through here, and you're trying to get your hand over top the bar as much as you can. This is called a false grip. So Courtney's gonna get a false grip right here. I'm gonna lay back and try a ring row in this position. Very good. So hands on top of the rings, just like that. We have an isometric contraction at the wrist, performing rowing. So we're getting some scapular strength, we're getting a little work to the flexors of the forearm, we're getting work to the biceps, lots of good stuff going on here. And take a breather. If an athlete is having a hard time figuring out how to do a false grip, you can do a ball false grip. So you just take two balls and then you hold onto the rings with your wrists, right? And we can do this hanging. So we're gonna have Courtney try this out here. Now, if you're a super badass, you can do a pull-up like this, but I would start with just hanging. So if you take a look at Courtney's wrists, they're flexed, very strong isometric contraction, balls in the hand, great exercise for golfer's elbow. Another great exercise for golfer's elbow is going to do a bicep curl. A, because you can get some big guns, right, which is nice, but when you're doing a bicep curl, it's also an isometric contraction of the flexors of the wrist, right? So as we do our bicep curl, we're getting a very strong stress to the medial elbow, right? We're also building our guns. Good stuff. So let's go over some basic and easy exercises you can do with golfer's elbow. The first of which is going to be resisted pronation. So remember we talked about how the pronator teres is one of the muscles that attaches to medial epicondyle. So we can do resisted pronation to stress that tendon to get it to heal and adapt. So this is a pronator. You don't have to use a pronator. You can use a PVC pipe, you can use a hammer, and if you want to make it more challenging, you just take an ankle weight and attach it to the end, right? So from here, we're gonna come out to the side, and come all the way back to the top. Very good. Let's do a few repetitions here. So generally, we wanna start with lighter loads, progress to heavier loads. If someone's not tolerating the isotonic motion, you can pause halfway and just hold an isometric. The other thing you can do is come to the top, use your other side arm just to hold this, and push against your resistance. Good. Do about 30 to 60 seconds of an isometric contraction at around 7 out of 10 intensity, and that can be a set for you. Resisted wrist flexion is another classic exercise for people that have golfer's elbow. Very simple to perform. Just sitting, have your hand off the end, and then just doing wrist flexion just like this. If you want to perform an isometric contraction, also super easy to do. You can lift up, hold right here. Again, maybe 30 to 60 seconds. And lastly, if we want to focus just on the eccentric portion of this exercise, you can use your other hand to help. So let this drop all the way down slowly. Use your other hand to get back to the stop. to the start, and then slowly drop down again. Good. Using your other hand to come back up again. So this way we are unloading the concentric portion and focusing on the eccentric portion, which all can be helpful for golfers. So over the course of time, you start with easy exercises, you progress towards harder exercises, and the movements where you had to modify at the start of your training, you start to slowly leak those movements back over the course of time as you start to get better. If you guys want to learn more about how I treat golfer's elbow, I have a very in-depth show that I made. I'm going to leave a link above our heads. Go ahead and click on that and continue the learning. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'll see you on the next one.